The sky over the Pacific Ocean was calm that morning. Just another quiet shift for Major Elena Rostova. She floated in her small orbital interceptor, sipping lukewarm coffee from a sealed pouch. Below her, Earth turned slowly, blue and green and white, peaceful as ever. She had been on watch for 6 hours. Nothing unusual. Just stars, silence, and the soft hum of her ship's systems. Then the alarms blared. Red lights flashed across her cockpit. Her AI, a calm voice named Kai, spoke instantly. Unidentified objects entering near-Earth space. Trajectory: aggressive. Speed: 0.3 c. Classification: non-human. Elena's heart pounded. She dropped the coffee pouch. It drifted away, forgotten. "Show me," she said. A holographic display bloomed in front of her. Dozens of massive ships, sleek, black, shaped like size slid out of warp beyond the moon. They moved with terrifying purpose, forming a ring around Earth. No hails. No warnings. Just silence. And then fire. The first plasma bolt screamed past her ship, missing by meters. Elena yanked the controls. Her interceptor rolled hard to starboard, engines flaring. She wasn't supposed to fight. She was a scout, a watcher. But now, she was the only human between Earth and whatever those things were down on the planet. Jamal Carter was walking through a ruined market in Lagos. The city still hadn't fully recovered from the last flood season, but life went on. Kids played football between broken walls. Vendors sold solar-charged foam batteries and dried fish. Jamal, once a Marine, now worked with disaster response, helping rebuild. Not destroy. Then the sky split open. A flash of violet light lit up the clouds. People stopped, looked up, screamed. Jamal knew that flash. He'd seen it in old war simulations. It was an orbital strike. He grabbed his emergency satchel and ran. Across the globe, the same thing happened. In Beijing, Moscow, Rio, Toronto, people stared as alien ships appeared like ghosts in the sky. Governments scrambled. Emergency broadcasts cut through every screen, every speaker. This is not a drill. Seek shelter. Global threat confirmed. But Earth wasn't helpless. Decades of climate wars, cyber attacks, and near misses with asteroids had forced humanity to prepare. Deep in bunkers beneath Geneva, a new kind of defense system sprang to life, not run by one nation, but by a shared network of AIs, militaries, and scientists. It had no official name. Soldiers called it the Watch. And the Watch had seen the ships before they fired. Within 90 seconds of detection, automated platforms hidden in asteroid belts and polar orbits powered up. Railguns, long tubes of coiled steel and magnetic coils, aimed silently at the alien fleet. These weren't fancy weapons. They fired rods of tungsten, cold and simple, accelerated to hypersonic speeds. No explosives, just raw physics. The aliens didn't expect it. Their commander, Vexlor, sat in his command throne aboard the flagship Dread Maw. His 4 eyes glowed with pride. His fleet had crushed dozens of primitive worlds. Each conquest took less than an hour. This one would be easier. Scans showed the planet, listed as Epsilon 9 in their ancient database, had no space fleet, no shields, no energy weapons. Just radio noise and fragile cities. Deploy suppression units, Vexlor ordered. Begin atmospheric entry. Let the harvest begin. His officers obeyed. Drop pods launched. Plasma cannons charged. Then, from the darkness near Earth's orbit, something struck. A thin streak of metal no bigger than a telephone pole slammed into the hull of a Chiari frigate at 11 kilometers per second. The impact didn't explode. It punched through armor, decks, and crew like paper. The frigate tore itself apart from the inside. Alarm shrieked. Oxygen vented into space. Another rod hit a second ship. Then a third. Vexler stood. What is this? Primitive kinetic projectiles? Impossible. They lack the targeting. But Earth didn't need perfect targeting. It had math. And time. And desperation. In her cockpit, Elena watched the alien ships reel. She grinned. You really should have done your homework. She flipped her ship around and locked onto a damaged alien scout vessel. Her weapons were weak, just pulse lasers meant for drones, but she had surprise on her side. She fired. Green beams lanced out, scorching the alien hull. The scout spun, leaking gas. KAI, send this back to Earth, she said. Full sensor log. Tell him what we're facing. Transmitting, Kai replied. Below, Jamal reached a reinforced shelter beneath a university. He barked orders into a handheld radio. Get everyone underground. Now, they're coming down. He looked up. Through a crack in the rubble, he saw the first drop pod, a black egg-shaped thing, plummet through the clouds. It hit the edge of the city with a thunderous boom. Then another. And another, but the streets weren't full of people. Thanks to early warnings and drills, most were already gone. What remained were traps, drones hidden in sewers, motion sensors in alleys, and automated turrets disguised as streetlights. The Chitauri warriors emerged from their pod stall, armored with blades on their arms and eyes that glowed red. They expected to find terrified villagers. Instead, they stepped into silence. Then a drone buzzed overhead. A small one, no bigger than a bird. It dropped a tiny device near the lead alien's foot. Click. The explosion wasn't big, but it blew off the alien's leg at the knee. The others whirled, confused. More drones appeared. Then gunfire from rooftops. Not from soldiers, from civilians with modified hunting rifles and 3D-printed armor. Jamal smiled grimly. Welcome to Earth, Ashholes. Back in orbit, Elena's ship took a hit. A plasma bolt grazed her wing. Alarms wailed. Oxygen levels dropped. I'm hit, Kai. Hull breach in Sector 4. Sealing now. Recommend immediate retreat. She shook her head. Not yet. She spotted something, a gap in the alien formation near their command ship. A chance. She pushed her engines to full burn, weaving through debris and fire. Her target wasn't to destroy. It was to get close enough to plant a data spike, a device that could latch onto their network and steal intel. If I don't make it back, she said, tell them their name isn't Epsilon 9. It's Earth. She launched the spike just as her ship's engines failed. It shot forward like a dart, embedding itself into the underbelly of Vexler's flagship. A tiny human-made needle in the belly of a monster. Then her cockpit went dark. Far below. In bunkers and basements and ruined streets, humans did what they'd always done. They adapted, they fought, they refused to kneel. The aliens had come for an easy victory. They found a planet that had spent centuries learning how to survive the impossible, and they hadn't even checked the name on the map. The Chitauri thought Earth would break fast. They had seen it happen on other worlds. Drop the terror beasts. Shut down the cities with gravity suppressors. Watch the natives run and scream. But Earth did not scream. It went quiet, and then it fought back. In Lagos, Jamal Carter watched as the first Chitauri warrior stumbled through smoke, dragging a wounded leg. The alien's armor hissed with leaking fluid. Its red eyes scanned the empty street. Then, from a shattered window 3 stories up, a drone the size of a shoebox dropped a small black ball. It stuck to the alien's back. 2 seconds later, it popped not with fire, but with a sharp crack of electricity. The warrior collapsed, twitching. Jamal nodded. Good. Keep them guessing. His team moved fast. They weren't soldiers in uniform. They were teachers, engineers, kids with old tablets and scavenged parts. But they knew their city. They knew where the power lines ran, where the old sewer tunnels led, where the hidden drone nests were buried. They turned Lagos into a maze of traps. One group rigged streetlights to flash blinding pulses when motion was detected. Another poured conductive gel into puddles connected to car batteries. Step in the wrong puddle and you'd fry. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. High above, in orbit, Elena Rostova floated in the dark. Her ship was dead. Oxygen was low, but she wasn't dead yet. She tapped her helmet com. A weak signal reached a rescue drone. "Pick me up, if you can." On Earth, the rescue order went out. A silent command through encrypted channels. "Get Rostova. She has eyes on the enemy." Meanwhile, in Geneva, deep under the Alps, the Seoul Emergency Council met. Generals, scientists, hackers, even a farmer from Kenya who ran a satellite mesh network from her village, all linked by neural headsets and old-fashioned screens. They didn't argue. Not now. There was no time. Dr. Lin, a quiet woman who once worked on Mars terraforming bots, spoke first. "The aliens use neural-linked comms. Every ship talks to every other ship through a shared mind net. If we can slip in, even for a second, we can blind them." "How?" asked a Russian admiral. "We don't have quantum comms," said Lin, "but we have something close. Remember Project Whisper? The neutrino relay built to talk to submarines under ice? It never worked well, but it can punch through anything." A young coder from Mumbai, barely 20, leaned forward. "I've been testing it with old Starlink nodes. If we bounce the signal through 3 satellites, we can mimic their frequency for 6 seconds. Just long enough to send a fake command." The room fell silent. 6 seconds. It wasn't much. But on Earth, 6 seconds was enough to change everything. They gave the go-ahead. Back in Lagos, Jamal's group found something strange. One of the alien drop pods hadn't opened. It sat in the middle of a park, humming softly. "No guards, no movement. Trap?" asked Amara, a former mechanic with cybernetic fingers. "Maybe," Jamal said. "Or maybe they're scared." He approached slowly, used a mirror on a stick to look inside the cracked door. Empty, but inside, there was a core, a glowing blue sphere pulsing like a heartbeat. He'd seen images like this in old sci-fi vids. Terraformers, the kind that melt cities and grow alien forests in hours. "They weren't just here to kill us," Jamal whispered. "They wanted to erase us. Replace us." Anger burned in his chest. But he didn't smash it. He called Amara. "Can we move this thing?" She studied it. "Yeah, but it's unstable. One wrong bump, it goes boom. Then we move it carefully," he said, "and we give it back to them." While Jamal worked, Elena's rescue drone finally found her. It latched onto her hull and pulled her toward a hidden hangar near the moon's dark side. She was weak, but alive. And in her suit's memory chip was the data spikes download fragments of Cathari language, ship layouts, and something else. A name. Not Epsilon-9. Earth. She whispered it like a prayer. On the Cathari flagship, Vexler paced. His fleet had lost 5 ships. Not to big weapons. To small, fast, clever attacks. His warriors reported strained resistance civilians fighting back with toys and trash. His scouts couldn't lock onto enemy signals. Their own comms glitched for no reason. "Impossible," he growled. "This world has no fleet, no shield, no unity." Then a junior officer approached, trembling. "Commander, our archives. There's a file, old, forbidden. It speaks of a planet called Earth." Vexler froze. "Delete it. It's noise." But the doubt had taken root. Back on Earth, the 6-second window opened. From Mumbai, the coder typed one line of code. Satellites shifted. Signals bounced. For 6 seconds, The Cathari fleet heard a command that sounded like their own. All units retreat to high orbit. Reassess. Some ships obeyed. Others hesitated. The fleet's perfect formation broke in that moment. Earth struck. Orbital mines hidden for years as space junk detonated. Solar panels, old rocket parts, even dead satellites came alive with hidden charges. Fire bloomed in the void. 2 Cathari cruisers collided trying to dodge at the same time. Jamal's team loaded the terraformer core onto a stolen delivery bot, a 6-wheeled machine meant for carrying rice sacks. They wired it to a remote trigger and sent it rolling toward the alien command spire rising from the ruins of Accra. The Cathari guards saw it coming. They fired. The bot exploded early, but not before Amara sent a final pulse through her hacked network. The core didn't blow up. It woke up. Blue light flooded the street. Trees of crystal began to grow from the ground, twisting, sharp, alive. The Cathari screamed as the terraformer turned their own weapon against them, rewriting the air, the soil, even their armor. Jamal pulled his team back. Let it eat them. In Geneva, Lynn smiled for the first time in days. They thought we were primitive because we don't have warp drives or plasma cities. But we've been fighting extinction for centuries. Ice ages, pandemics, nuclear winters. We didn't build paradise. We built survival. And survival was dangerous. Elena, now wrapped in a thermal blanket inside the moonbase, watched the battle unfold on a cracked screen. She saw Lagos, Beijing, Berlin all fighting back in their own ways. Farmers using crop drones to drop firebombs. Kids in Tokyo hacking street signs to confuse alien patrols. Fishermen in the Philippines using sonar to jam underwater drop pods. Humanity wasn't one army. It was millions of small fires, burning together. Vexler finally understood. He stood on his bridge, watching his ships fall. His warriors die. His mission collapse. He opened a channel not to attack, but to listen. And what he heard shocked him. Music, voices, laughter. A child reading a story. An old man singing a war song from a century ago. All blasting from Earth's transmitters not as a message, but as noise. As defiance. You don't even know who we are, he muttered. And yet you stand. He turned to his second in command. Find out everything about this world, now. But it was too late. Earth had already turned the war. Jamal sat on a broken wall, eating a cold ration bar. Around him, people worked fixing radios, charging batteries, sharing water. No one cried. No one ran. They just kept going. He looked up at the sky. Smoke, stars, and the faint glow of alien ships burning. We're not Epsilon 9, he said softly. We're Earth, and we bite. Far away in orbit, Elena closed her eyes. She was exhausted, but proud. They had survived day one, and the aliens? They had just learned the hard way. Never skip the fine print on a star map. The Cathari fleet was in chaos. Their perfect formation had broken. Their warriors were confused. Their weapons misfired. And worst of all, their belief was shattered. This was not Epsilon 9, a quiet, forgotten rock with simple life. This was something else. Something angry. Something clever. Vexler sat alone in his command chamber. The blue glow of his ship's core pulsed like a slow heartbeat. He replayed the data from the spike Elena had planted. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Coordinates, names, broadcast logs. One file kept repeating. Earth. He called up the ancient archives files so old they were nearly erased. Most Cathari didn't believe these stories. They were myths told to frighten young warriors. Tales of a cradle world where a species rose from mud and fire, learned to split atoms before they learned to share bread, and sent metal birds to touch other worlds before they stopped killing each other. And that species, was human. Vexler had laughed at those tailies. Now, he wasn't laughing. His communicator beeped. A message from the High Hegemony Council. He opened it. The image flickered. Elder Cathar, his face scarred from 100 conquests, eyes wide with fear. Vexler, the elder rasped. Abort. That is not Epsilon 9. That is, the screen went black. Static. Then silence. Vexler stood. His claws dug into the armrests of his throne. He knew what the elder was going to say. He had heard the name whispered in dark corners of the fleet. The Unbroken. A species that never stayed down. On Earth, humanity didn't celebrate. There was no time. They had won a battle, not the war. But they had hope, and that was dangerous. In Geneva, the Seoul Emergency Council met again. This time, they weren't just sharing plans. They were sharing dreams. We can't just defend, said Dr. Lin. We have to show them we're not prey. We're predators too. The young coder from Mumbai, his name was Ravi, nodded. I've cracked part of their comms. Their language is based on emotion pulses. Fear, pride, doubt. If we flood their network with human voices songs, speeches, even children's games, it might overload their system. Send them Shakespeare? Someone joked. Better, Ravi said. Send them Tetris theme music. On loop. They all laughed. But they did it. Within an hour. Every radio tower, every satellite, every hacked alien drone began broadcasting Earth's culture, not as a plea, but as a weapon. Opera, hip-hop, news clips from the moon landing, a viral video of a cat playing piano. And yes, the Tetris tune, cheerful and unstoppable. In orbit, Cathari ships began to shudder. Their crews clutched their heads. The noise wasn't loud, it was wrong. It didn't obey logic. It jumped from joy to sorrow to nonsense in seconds. Their neural links couldn't process it. Some warriors collapsed. Others fired at shadows, on the ground. Jamal's team moved through the ruins of Accra. The terraformer core had stopped growing, but the crystal trees remained sharp, glowing, unnatural. They used them as cover. They found something strange. A Cathari warrior, alone, unarmed. It wasn't fighting. It was watching a broken store screen playing an old cartoon bender from Futurama saying, "Bite my shiny metal ass." Jamal raised his rifle. The alien turned. Its red eyes met his. No fear. Just wonder. Why do you fight so hard? It said in broken, translated words. Jamal lowered his weapon slightly. Because we've always had to. The alien nodded slowly. We were told your kind was weak. That you would beg for mercy. We don't beg, Jamal said. We build. We break. We rebuild. Over and over. The alien looked at the sky. Then you are the ones from the old songs. Before Jamal could ask what that meant, the alien turned and walked into the crystal forest, disappearing without a fight. Word spread. Not all Cathari were enemies. Some were just soldiers, ordered to obey. Now, they were questioning. Back at the moon base, Elena recovered fast. She walked with a limp, but her mind was sharp. She studied the stolen data. Found something others missed, a map of hegemony slave worlds. Hundreds of them. Planets stripped of names, forced to work in mines, factories, war camps. Her hands shook. We're not just fighting for Earth, she told Kai. Hooray, hi. We're fighting for everyone they've crushed. Kai replied gently. Then show them what Earth does when it fights for others. Elena knew what to do. She wrote a message. Simple, short, in 127 languages, every major human tongue, plus sign language subtitles and audio tones for the hearing impaired. She recorded it herself, standing in front of a cracked window with Earth rising behind her. You came to take our home, she said. But you forgot one thing. We don't just protect our own. We remember the lost. We fight for the voiceless. And if you hurt the weak, we will find you." She paused, looked straight into the camera. "You picked the wrong damn planet." The message was sent, not just to the Cathari fleet, but bounced off every satellite, every probe, every piece of human tech in space. It shot into the black, aimed at every direction. A warning. A promise. On the Cathari flagship, Vexlor watched it. He didn't understand all the words, but he felt the weight behind them. His second-in-command entered. "Commander, 3 ships have gone silent. Their crews, they refuse orders." "Why?" Vexlor asked. "They say they don't want to be monsters anymore." Vexlor said nothing. He looked at the screen again, at Elena's face, at the blue planet behind her. He thought of the archives, of the old songs that spoke of a world where fire was tamed, oceans were crossed, and death was stared in the eye and told, "Not today." He turned to his officer. "Lock all fleet channels. No more broadcasts. And stop calling it Epsilon 9. What should we call it, sir?" Vexler whispered, "Earth." Down below, Jamal stood on a rooftop. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and red. Smoke still rose from distant fires, but people were out helping each other, sharing food, fixing what was broken. A child ran up to him, holding a drawing. It showed Earth with flames around it, and a stick figure with a rifle standing tall. At the bottom, in messy letters, "Home of the Unbroken." Jamal smiled. "That's right." He looked up. In the twilight, one Cathari ship broke from the fleet. Not attacking, just leaving. Then another. And another? They weren't retreating in fear. They were running from a truth they couldn't ignore. Earth wasn't just a planet. It was an idea. A stubborn, messy, brilliant idea that refused to die. And now, the galaxy would learn its name. Elena, watching from the moon, whispered the same words the child had written, "Home of the Unbroken." She didn't know what came next, but she knew one thing. Humanity had just turned from prey into something the stars would remember, not because they had the biggest weapons, but because they never stopped caring, even when the universe tried to crush them. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. The Cathari fleet was broken, but not gone. They still had ships, still had weapons, still had pride. And pride made them dangerous. But Earth was done waiting. In Geneva, the Seoul Emergency Council made a choice. No more hiding. No more just defending. It was time to strike back. "We don't have a real fleet," said the Russian admiral. "Just a few military ships, cargo haulers, and old mining rigs." Dr. Lin leaned forward. "Then we make them into a fleet. Across the planet, humans got to work. In shipyards buried under ice in Iceland, in dry docks in Singapore, in old NASA hangars in Florida, people welded, wired, and reprogrammed. Civilian freighters became gunships. Asteroid tugs got missile launchers bolted to their sides. Even an old deep-sea oil platform was refitted into a floating command center in the Pacific. They called it Operation Prometheus Reborn. Not because they wanted fire from the gods, but because they were ready to steal it themselves. Jamal stood on the deck of a repurposed cargo ship off the coast of Ghana. It used to carry bananas. Now, it carried drones, railgun shells, and a team of hackers with solar-powered laptops. He looked up at the sky. Alien ships still circled, like vultures waiting for a mistake. "We're not waiting for them to come down," he told his team. "We're going up." Meanwhile, Elena stood on the bridge of a newly armed vessel near the moon once, a Mars supply ship, now renamed Defiant. She wore a patched uniform and a new cybernetic brace on her leg. Her job wasn't to fly. It was to lead. "KAI," she said. "Activate the Helios array. far above the atmosphere. In a silent ring of mirrors and lenses built to deflect killer asteroids, massive solar collectors turned toward the sun. For years, they had stored energy just in case. Now that just in case had come, on Earth, people felt the change. The sky grew brighter for a few seconds. Not hot, just focused. Then a beam of pure sunlight amplified, narrowed, controlled shot from orbit like a spear of white fire dot. Hit the largest HFY ship still hovering over Asia. No explosion. Just light so hot it turned metal to vapor in seconds. The ship didn't break apart. It melted, then collapsed into a cloud of glowing dust. 3 capital ships gone in one strike. On the ground, crowds didn't cheer. They stood silent. Then someone started clapping. Then another. Soon, across cities and villages, people applauded not for victory, but for the will to fight back. Vexlor watched from his flagship. His hands trembled. They turned their own star into a weapon. His second-in-command whispered, "We cannot win this." "Maybe not," Vexlor said, "but we can still burn them as we fall." He gave a new order, full bombardment. No more drop pods. No more warnings. Just fire from the sky until nothing was left. But Earth was ready. Ravi, the coder from Mumbai, had spent days studying the HFY gravity drives, the systems that let their ships hover and move without wings or rockets. He found a flaw. The drives needed stable magnetic fields. And Earth had plenty of ways to mess with those. He sent a signal. Not a virus. A song. Actually, it was a recording of a solar flare event from 2023 raw magnetic noise, turned into a digital pulse. He beamed it through every satellite, every radio tower, even old ham radios tuned to the right frequency. The effect was instant. HFY ships began to wobble. Some spun out of control. Others dropped like stones, only to be caught by Earth's drone swarms, which guided them into the ocean or empty deserts. One ship crashed near Jamal's cargo vessel. He didn't hesitate. "Team, move in. Strip it clean." They pulled out power cells, weapons, even alien food packs. Everything useful. Nothing wasted. Deep in the ship's core, they found something strange, a small pod, sealed tight. Inside was a child. Not human. Blue-skinned, wide-eyed, scared. A slave from another world. Jamal knelt. "It's okay," he said, though he knew the child wouldn't understand. He handed her water, covered her with a blanket. "We're not like them," he whispered. "We don't hurt the helpless." Back in orbit, Elena prepared for her final move. She had studied the data from the spike. She knew where Vexlor's flagship was weakest, the belly, near the gravity core. If she could get inside, she could plant a virus not just to spy, but to show. She didn't want to kill the HFY. She wanted them to see. She boarded a stealth shuttle, small, fast, coated in heat-absorbing paint. No weapons. Just a data core filled with human history. The bombing of Hiroshima. The first steps on the moon. A mother singing a lullaby in Nairobi. Kids building robots in a garage in Texas. A protest in Cairo. A farmer planting rice in Vietnam. All of it. The pain. The beauty. The stubborn hope. She flew straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. Alarms blared on the HFY ship. They saw her, but too late. Her shuttle clipped the hull and stuck like a burr. She cut through the metal with a laser torch, crawled inside, and planted the core near their neural network hub. Then she ran, but not fast enough. A blast from a security turret hit her shuttle as she tried to escape. The engines died. She floated in the void, tumbling slowly, oxygen running out. "Kai. Tell them I did it," she whispered. "Message sent," Kai replied. They know. Inside the HFY flagship, the virus spread. Not with code, but with memory. Vexlor suddenly saw flashes. A soldier writing a letter home. A scientist crying when her vaccine worked. A boy sharing bread with a stranger after a quake. He fell to his knees. What is this? It is humanity, whispered a voice in his mind, the voice of the virus, shaped from Elena's recordings. We are broken, but we rebuild. We hurt, but we heal. You came to take our world, but you never asked why we guard it so hard. Vexler looked at his hands that had crushed planets. For the first time, he felt shame. On Earth, Jamal held the alien child as his ship prepared for its final act. They had taken the terraformer core from Lagos and wired it into a stolen Cathari drop pod. Now, they aimed it not at a city but at the enemy mothership. We're not just defending home, Jamal said to his crew. We're ending this. The pod launched. Silent. Fast. It slipped past enemy sensors. Guided by Ravi's hacked frequencies, it struck the flagship's midsection instead of exploding. The terraformer core woke up, not to grow trees, but to flood the ship with alien biology. Crystal vines burst through corridors. Oxygen turned thick and sweet. Gravity shifted. The ship began to change from the inside. Vexler staggered to the bridge. His ship was dying, not from fire, but from life. He looked out the viewport, saw Earth whole, wounded, glowing. He opened a channel, not to his fleet. To Earth, I see you now, he said in rough, broken English. You are not monsters. You are guardians. Then he cut the feed. On the Defiant, Elena's rescue signal finally reached a recovery drone. It grabbed her shuttle just as her oxygen hit zero. She woke up hours later, floating in a medbay, Earth filling the window. Ravi's voice crackled over the comm. They're pulling back. Whole fleet. They're leaving. Elena smiled weakly. Good, but she knew it wasn't over. The hegemony was vast. This was just one fleet. One battle. Still, for the first time, Earth had done more than survive. It had made the enemy stop. And that was the first step towards something bigger. Down below. Jamal handed the alien child to a medic. She looked up at him with wide eyes. Will they come back? She asked in translated words. Jamal looked at the sky. Maybe, but next time, they'll knock first. And somewhere in the dark between stars, the Cathari retreated, not in shame, but in awe. They had come for a weak world. They left having met the unbroken. The sky was quiet again. Not peaceful. Earth was still scarred. Cities bore blackened craters. Oceans shimmered with strange heat from near misses. Forests smoldered in places. But the alien ships were gone. The war was over. For now. In Lagos, Jamal stood on a rooftop made of salvaged metal sheets. Below, people worked, clearing rubble, planting seeds in clean soil, teaching kids how to fix solar panels. The alien child, now named Lyra, sat beside him, drawing in a notebook. Her picture showed Earth with wings. They really left? She asked. Jamal nodded. For now. But we're ready if they come back. He didn't say it with fear. He said it like a fact, like the sun rising or rain falling. Because Earth had changed. Not just its tech, but its heart. Nations that once argued over borders now shared power grids and medical supplies. Old enemies stood side by side, welding broken bridges, coding new defenses, feeding each other. No one asked who was from where anymore. They were just human. High above, near the silent rings of the Helios array, Elena floated inside the Defiant. Her legs still ached, but she walked without help now. She stared at the stars, not with fear, but with warning. The Cathari had retreated, but not before Vexlor sent one last message. Short, clear. We will tell the others. Do not go to Earth. But Elena knew the galaxy was big. Someone else would come. Maybe curious. Maybe greedy. Maybe angry. So Earth wasn't stopping. Factories that once made cars now built hull plates. Universities ran wargaming simulations not for fun, but for survival. Farmers grew food in underground domes, just in case the sky burned again. And every child learned 3 things: how to code, how to grow food, and how to fight if needed. Not because they wanted war, but because they never wanted to be helpless again. In Geneva, the Seoul Defense Council met for the last time as an emergency group. Now, they were something permanent, a true Earth alliance. Jamal was there, not as a soldier, but as a voice for the people who rebuilt. Ravi sat beside him, now head of deep space signal monitoring. Dr. Lin led a new project, turning the stolen Cathari tech into tools, not weapons. Clean energy, faster travel, better medicine, and Elena? She stood before them all. "We don't build a fleet to conquer," she said. "We build it to say, this far. No further." The room agreed. Earth's first true space fleet would be small, but it would be smart, fast, and ready. Months passed. One morning, a rescue pod from the edge of Saturn's rings pinged Earth's network. Inside, barely alive, was Alana's shuttle, lost in the chaos of battle. She had been drifting, frozen in sleep mode for weeks. When they opened the pod, she was pale but smiling. "I told you I'd come back," she whispered. They carried her home, not to a hospital, but to a celebration. Not loud or flashy, just people sharing food under string lights in a rebuilt park. Kids ran with drone kites. Old songs played from recycled speakers. Lyra handed Elena a flower made of scrap metal. "You're the one who flew into the dark," the girl said. Elena touched her hair. "And you're the one who reminded us why we fight." Far away, in the cold void between stars, another fleet moved. Not Cathari. Bigger. Older. The Veln Empire, ruthless, ancient, never defeated. They had heard whispers of a blue world that broke a hegemony fleet, of a signal that showed pain and joy in the same breath, of a species that didn't beg when the sky fell. Their commander, Zorath the Hollow, reviewed the logs, saw the footage of Earth's railguns, the Helios beam, the civilians fighting with drones and courage. He paused the video on Elena's final message. "You picked the wrong damn planet." He turned to his first officer. "What do we know of this world?" The officer checked the database. "Only myths, sir. Called the Cradle, Home of the Unbroken." Zorath was silent for a long time. Then he ordered, "Send a probe." Quietly. "I want to see it for myself." But before the probe launched, a new signal burst from Sol System Simple, repeating, "Sent on every frequency. Visitor protocol. Knock first. We bite." Zorath actually laughed. A dry, rattling sound. "They warn us and dare us at the same time." He canceled the probe. "Mark this sector," he said. "Red zone. Do not approach. Let others learn the hard way." Back on Earth, no one knew about the Velm. They just kept building, healing, watching. One evening, a child in a refugee camp outside Nairobi drew a picture in the dirt with a stick. It showed Earth surrounded by stars, with tiny ships guarding it like fireflies. Underneath, she wrote, "Home of the Unbroken." An old man walking by stopped, smiled, added one word, "Always." In orbit. Elena stood on the observation deck of the Defiant, now the flagship of Earth's first real defense line. She sipped real coffee brewed from beans grown in a space greenhouse. Kai spoke softly. "No enemy signals. All quiet." "Good," Elena said. "Let them stay quiet." She looked down at Earth, blue, bruised, beautiful. A world that had been kicked, burned, and doubted. And still stood. They hadn't asked for this war, but they had answered it with everything they had. Brains, grit, kindness, and a refusal to kneel. And now, The galaxy would remember, not because Earth had the biggest guns, but because it had the strongest heart. Somewhere, in a forgotten archive on a dead moon, a new entry was added to the star charts. Where Epsilon 9 once appeared, someone, maybe a defecting Cathari, maybe a curious traitor, had crossed it out. In its place, in bold, clear letters, it now read, Earth, home of the unbroken. And below that, in smaller text, a warning passed from ship to ship. Traitor to traitor, warrior to child. If you go there, knock first.